guys, it's Mango and welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be translating French and explaining what's going on in the opening ceremony. So let's get started.
Sur l'écran noir de mes nuits blanches.
Our host tonight is Ai Khaidera, and she's a very well-known actress and comedian in France.
Chère présidente, Iris Knobloch, cher délégué général, Thierry Frémaux, chers invités ici présents, chers téléspectateurs et chers internautes partout dans le monde. Enfin, partout où l'Internet n'a pas été coupé. Partout où l'intelligence artificielle ne s'est pas substituée à la réalité. Enfin, à vous toutes et tous qui tentez de résister ici et ailleurs, bonsoir et bienvenue.
She isn't just welcoming the crowd, she's addressing the recent debates in the French film industry, and she's speaking about the fragility of the image and how in 2026 cinema has to fight harder than ever against AI and streaming to remain human. She's also making a clever joke about Jean-Luc Godard, essentially saying that while movies used to be truth 24 frames per second, today they are emotion at any speed.
Capable de dire peu, de dire tant avec si peu. Une femme d'une immense élégance et d'une délicatesse infinie envers les autres. Je pense bien sûr à Nathalie Baye, qui aura marqué l'histoire du cinéma. Huit spectateurs, 8 cinéphiles exemplaires, assidus, disciplinés, qui pendant toute la durée du festival garderont le silence le plus absolu. Et c'est pas facile de se taire quand on est artiste.
Now the jury is being introduced. Think of them as a supreme court of the film world for the next 2 weeks.
Mesdames et messieurs, merci d'accueillir les membres du jury de cette 79e édition du Festival de Cannes. L'acteur suédois Stellan Skarsgård.
The festival carefully curates this group to balance such as Hollywood stars like Demi Moore with art houses directors like Chloe Zhao. The hostess emphasizing that this jury is tasked with finding a film that shakes the soul, not just the box office. The dynamic of the jury is very vibrant. Watch how they are seated.
Le scénariste écossais Paul Laverty. L'actrice et productrice irlando-éthiopienne Ruth Negga. L'acteur ivoirien et américain Isaac de Bancolé. La réalisatrice, scénariste, monteuse, productrice chinoise, Zoé Zhao. Le réalisateur et scénariste chilien, Diego Céspedes. L'actrice et productrice américaine Demi Moore. pour présider ce jury, j'appelle le cinéaste qui a fait de la vengeance un art, de la violence une poésie et du cinéma coréen une obsession mondiale. Il a peint avec génie les tourments de l'âme humaine et on lui doit bien quelques nuits blanches. Mesdames et messieurs, le président du jury, Park Chan-wook.
Park Chan-wook, the president, she's introducing him as a master of elevated vengeance.
예, 경쟁 부문에 오른 작품의 수는 22편에 불과하지만 이 영화들에 참여한 사람들을 다 합치면 아마 몇천 명은 될 겁니다. 그리고 그 사람 한 사람, 그 참여한 사람 하나하나의 가족들 숫자까지 하면 정말 몇만 명이도 되겠죠. 그 모든 사람들의 헌신과 갈망을 명심하면서 심사하도록 하겠습니다. 그리고 아까 제가 저기 앉아있는 폴한테 물어봤어요. 켄 로치 감독하고 각본 작업할 때 많이 싸우느냐고. 폴의 대답은 이랬습니다. argue는 많이 하지만 fight는 하지 않는다. 저희 심사도 그렇게 하겠습니다. 여러분도 주변 사람들하고 argue는 충분히 하시되 fight는 하지 않는 그런 삶을 사시기 바랍니다. 감사합니다. Thank you.
Il a d'honneur à Sir Peter Jackson. Merci d'accueillir celui qui a tourné plus de 9 heures de film avec lui, l'acteur et producteur Elijah Wood.
Elijah Wood was a great choice to present this award to Peter Jackson. Not only did Peter give him one of the greatest opportunity of his life and career, where he starred as Frodo in Lord of the Rings franchise, but Peter and Elijah both developed a very beautiful friendship throughout the years, and Elijah Wood is also going to reprise his role as Frodo Baggins in the new Lord of the Rings movie, The Hunt for Gollum, which is coming out next year.
Good evening, bonsoir, and tenau katoa katoa. I was 18 years old when I first met Peter Jackson. He had come to Los Angeles with Fran Walsh to audition actors for an ambitious new project. They had seen a VHS tape I'd made with friends in the woods of Griffith Park, and now they wanted to meet the young man who had sent it. I walked into Victoria Burrows' casting office, and there they were, Pete and Fran, together as they'd been for almost every day since they'd first met sometime in the late 80s. And when, a little while later, the call came that I was going to be Frodo Baggins, I sat down on the floor of my bedroom, and I understood with the whole of my being that my life had just been divided into before and after. And I know I'm far from the only person who has their life changed by Peter Jackson. Peter grew up in Pukarua Bay, in a country that back then barely had a film industry at all. But in true Pete fashion, that was not about to hold him back. With his wages from a job as a photo engraver, he bought a second-hand Bolex camera and started to make a film called Bad Taste with his friends on weekends. Everything was handmade. He built his own Steadicam for $15, baked alien masks in his mother's kitchen oven, and, as legend has it, for 4 years the Jackson family ate sausages for dinner every night because the oven was occupied. And from those handmade and perhaps slightly obsessive beginnings came one of the great cinematic careers of our time, one that never lost the feeling of being crafted by hand, always intimate, immediate, and full of soul. Before the world knew him as the director of The Lord of the Rings, Pete made films like Bad Taste, Meet the Feebles, Brain Dead, and The Frighteners. Films that were hilarious, strange, bloody, and, of course, entirely unmistakable. But then came Heavenly Creatures. And suddenly, the world saw something else too. Here was a filmmaker who could hold tenderness and horror in the same frame and make you understand that they had never really been separate things to begin with. That was the path that ultimately led to Middle-earth. And when Peter returned here to the Cannes Film Festival in 2001 to screen footage from The Lord of the Rings for the very first time, I still remember the electric feeling in the room. For decades, Tolkien's work had been called unadaptable. But after that day, well, the rest is history. What I remember most from making those films was not the scale, but the atmosphere, the community of creators, craftspeople around him, and the culture of collaboration that Pete built. For 16 months, I watched him make impossible decisions every single day with a remarkable sense of calm, somehow carrying the architecture of 3 enormous films in his mind at once. And despite the massive scope of those films, everything still felt handmade, because Pete has always understood that technology means nothing unless it carries humanity inside it. You feel that in King Kong, you feel it in The Lovely Bones, you feel it in They Shall Never Grow Old and Get Back. Every film is technically astonishing, but underneath all the innovation is always the same thing: heart. And of course, none of this exists without Fran Walsh, Pete's great love and creative partner, nor without Philippa Boyens, Richard Taylor, What a Workshop, and the extraordinary community of artists that they have cultivated together in Wellington. What Pete has contributed to the world is so much bigger than a filmography. He helped build an entirely new filmmaking culture at the far edge of the world. And the Peter Jackson I know is still, underneath everything, the kid with the Bolex camera and the kitchen oven. The kid who was told there was no film industry where he lived and decided that sounded less like a fact and more like a challenge. When I was just 18 years old, The Lord of the Rings was not just the beginning of Frodo's journey, but the beginning of my own. So Pete, I truly have no words to thank you for that. All these years ago, in this very place, you showed the world something it had never seen before, and nothing was ever the same. So, let's take a look at cinema since Peter Jackson.
That was such a beautiful speech by Elijah Wood. He spoke about his own start to the career and he thanked Peter Jackson, who gave him the opportunity to audition for Lord of the Rings at the age of 18 when Elijah Wood sent a videotape for his audition, and since then it changed his life, but not only his but everyone's in the world of cinema. He spoke about how Peter Jackson became the genius that we all know, that he grew up in a place where they didn't even have a film industry or cinema, and how he bought his own camera, made movies with his friends, and used his mother's oven to make his own props, which is something that, as Elijah says, he brought into his life as a big filmmaker and on his sets, where he does not like CGI or green screen. Elijah also added that Peter Jackson not only gives many opportunities and is one of the best filmmakers, but he also is a very calm and naturally talented director on set, how he makes everyone feel valuable and takes charge of the set in the most soft and elegant way. I think Peter Jackson is by far one of the greatest filmmakers of all time, from Heavenly Creatures to King Kong, and of course The Lord of the Rings, which he created one of the greatest trilogies of all time. Lord of the Rings has one of the highest records to ever be broken as the most nominated movies at the Oscars. That says a lot.
Mesdames et messieurs, Peter Jackson.
It is my profound honor. Oh, Pete. It is my profound honor to present the honorary Palme d'Or of the 79th Festival de Cannes to my friend, director, and one of the great filmmakers of our time, Sir Peter Jackson.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Elijah, how long have we known each other?
27 years?
27 years.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you've finally grown a little bit of facial hair. I mean, I know that for decades you've been trying.
It's true.
And it's really kind of cool. It's the Clark Gable look. It's,
Thank you.
If somebody does a remake of Gone with the Wind, Rhett Butler could be your role. It's great. So thank you for the Cannes Film Festival for this very unexpected and miraculous award, I would say, because the Palme d'Or is something I never ever thought I would win, ever, because I don't make Palme d'Or sort of films. So so this is an absolute stunning surprise and an incredible honour. I've only been to Cannes twice before, but the two times that I've come have been absolutely milestones in my career. As Elijah said, I made this movie, Bad Taste. I was a photo engraver, and I made it during the weekends over 4 years. And then, when it was finished, the film commission, the New Zealand Film Commission, brought it here to sell, and I came along. So, from a photo engraver in New Zealand to Cannes in one step was kind of an absolute mind-blowing thing. Now, if Bad Taste hadn't sold in the marketplace particularly well, I would have gone back to New Zealand and back to my photo engraving job. But fortunately, thanks to the wonderful marketplace here at the time, it sold really well. I think it sold to 50 countries. So I left New Zealand as a photo engraver, and I went home as a filmmaker. And that was the absolute thing that started my career. And then the second time I came, so that Bad Taste was like 38 years ago. And the second time was 25 years ago, when we had shot Lord of the Rings over like 3 years, 2.5 or 3 years. And we shot all 3 films at the same time. And the press was sort of weird because it was a strange time because Warner's was being sold. Just what goes round comes round. Warner's was being sold at the time, and so all the press was sort of talking about this great folly. What happens if the first film fails? What are they going to do with films number 2 and 3? Because they're already made. Really, it was a huge gamble on Uline's behalf. But all the media was talking about the failure, that the gamble was going to fail. So the first film, Fellowship of the Ring, was going to come out in December 2001. And so we just finished shooting in December 2000. So we had a year of post-production to do. And very early in that year, about February, Bob Shea decides that he wants to have 20 minutes of finished a film to screen here at Cannes, because he wants to change the press's sort of negative stories that were going out. And the only way to do that was to screen a bigger chunk of the film, and he wanted to change that well before the film was due to come out. Bob Shea rolled the dice, and so we had to quickly finish 20 minutes of film really fast, do all the effects, compose on a score. And so we bought that 20 minutes here in 2001 in May, and the result was great. We did some press in a castle up on the hill, didn't we? I mean, God knows it must have been expensive to hire that. But anyway, they hired the castle. There was a party there, and you know, Bob's great gamble really changed the perception of the film. So, you know, and for me, obviously, you know, it was for me a life-changing thing. So by the time that the film came out in December, there was a sort of an anticipation that wouldn't have happened if it hadn't been for Cannes. So those 2 trips to Cannes that I've made over the years have been absolutely groundbreaking for me, and I think this is the 3rd one, which is going to be equally an equal milestone. So. So I obviously want to thank Fran Walsh, who we've been together for 40 years now, and she's written most of the films I've made and produced them, and Philippa Boyne's co-written them too. But Fran has also produced Billy and Katie, our two kids who are down there. Possibly her best thing that she's ever produced, I would say. And Billy and Katie have been fantastically supportive. They've had to, their entire lives have been mummy and daddy making films, which is sometimes not very easy, but they've turned out to be fairly well balanced kids, I think, most of the time. and Ken Cammons and Peter Nelson, who have been there to support me along the way. And obviously, looking at those clips, I could only think of the thousands of people that help make those movies. And so thank you very much. And I still didn't, I haven't been able to figure out why I'm getting a Palme d'Or, because I'm just not a Palme d'Or sort of a guy. But I did wake up this morning with a realization. You know when you wake up and suddenly everything's clear. And this morning I thought, of course, I get it. That this is the Cannes Film Festival's way of apologising for not giving Bad Taste the Palme d'Or back in 1988. And so with that spirit, I very much accept this award. And thank you very, very much. Thank you.
What a beautiful speech by Peter Jackson. It was funny. He reminisced about... He spoke about how the Cannes Film Festival is honouring him and how it changed his life, created the most important milestones of his career. He said he was shocked that the Cannes Film Festival honoured his work because he didn't think that he's a Palme d'Or award sort of man, which I disagree. I think his movies are fantastic. That's why they're some of the greatest movies of all time. They deserve many Palme d'Or awards. He said that he'd only been to the Cannes Film Festival only 2 times before, and both of the times that he had been there, it was milestones in his career. He said that the first time that he went to the Cannes Film Festival was 38 years ago, and he went for the first movie he ever made called Bad Taste. And just like Elijah said in his speech, he had worked on that movie for 4 years while he was in New Zealand and working as a photo engraver. The Film Commission took his movie to the Cannes Film Festival to sell it, and it sold to 50 countries, and it was the first time that his movie was presented outside of New Zealand. And thanks to the big market at Cannes Film Festival, it got sold, and he went back to New Zealand as a filmmaker, and it was the start of his career. The second time that he went to the film festival, it was for Lord of the Rings, when there were rumors that Warner Brothers was going to be sold. Again, as he said, it's something that's happening today as well. And he said that the producers of Lord of the Rings thought it would be a very good idea to put away the rumors that Lord of the Rings won't be published, because they filmed all of the 3 Lord of the Ring movies at the same time, and there were fears that there was going to be issues because of Warner Brothers being sold. So they took the movie to the Cannes Film Festival. in 2001, and they had a big party. And Peter Jackson had to put together 20 minutes of the movie to showcase at the film festival, and it got great reviews and it made the movie shine. And the movie had a very high anticipation that wouldn't happen if it wasn't for Cannes. So the third time that Peter went to the Cannes Film Festival is to receive his honorary Palme d'Or award, which he never thought he would receive. And as he says, in the moment where he was questioning why he deserved the Palme d'Or award, he woke up with the realization that it was the Cannes Film Festival apologizing for not giving the Palme d'Or award for his movie Bad Taste. He thanked his family, his wife, who also made the movies with him for the last 38 years, and he thanked the thousands of people and artists that worked with him on all his movie sets, because without them and the collective teamwork, he wouldn't be able to make any of the movies that he made. It was a wonderful speech where he highlighted what the Cannes Film Festival have done and offered for him and his career, and it was funny, emotional and heartwarming. And Peter Jackson definitely deserves the honorary Palme d'Or award. This is the official declaration, and in a classic Cannes move, they've paired a Western legend with an Eastern legend, Jane Fonda and Gong Li.
Bonsoir. Jen comes from the West, and I come from the East. Tonight we stand together here. This is the magic of the Cannes Film Festival. I've always been honored to represent Chinese movies here in Cannes. Cinema goes beyond the languages, cultures, and generations. It speaks of what we all share, human emotions. Cinema allows us to meet and to connect. This is the power of movies.
And that power is what brings us here tonight. I believe in the power of voices. Voices on the screen, voices off the screen, and definitely voices in the street, especially now. I believe that cinema has always been an act of resistance because we tell the stories, and stories are what make a civilization. Stories that bring empathy to the marginalized, stories that allow us to feel across difference, stories that let us see that there is an alternative future that is possible. And standing beside Lee tonight, I'm reminded why this festival matters. Here in Cannes, story comes first. The courage to tell it comes first. So let's celebrate audacity, freedom, and the fierce act of creation. Okay.
现在我宣布第79届戛纳电影节开幕。
Je déclare le 79e Festival de Cannes ouvert.
This officially clears the way for the competition to begin.
J'invite maintenant tous les artistes à venir nous rejoindre au centre de la scène pour la traditionnelle photo. Rendez-vous dans 11 jours et d'ici là, sur l'écran noir de vos nuits blanches, soyez sages, soyez fous Bon festival à tous.
During the closing speech, they say that as the lights go down, the formal part of the evening ends and the cinematic marathon begins. Over the next 10 days, we'll see if the jury leans towards the political dramas or the experimental sci-fi that's dominating the lineup this year. Thank you so much for watching. Comment below what your favorite part of the opening ceremony was. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.